Hello everybody and welcome back to my channel. In today's video, we are going to be reviewing some makeup brushes. In particular, I want to talk about makeup brushes that are manufactured in Japan. If you've been watching me for a long time, you know I have a wide assortment of makeup brushes that I really enjoy. Everything from Morphe to Smashbox to crown brushes and beyond. And now that I've progressed as far as I have, I think, into the makeup world, I decided to start investing in some better makeup tools. And when I say better, I just mean tools that, yeah, cost a little more money, but that I also know I'm going to get a lot of longevity out of. For example, a Morphe makeup brush might be able to last me for a year before I need to replace it, whereas a brush like this, which is a Goss brush, this is something that I've had for well over a year now. I think we're going on almost 2 years, and I have thoroughly loved the brush, and it's still just as good as when I first bought it. At the end of the day, at least for me, I think it is a good investment, and I am super happy with the products that I have purchased. Today I'm going to talk about 3 different brands. The first is Hakuhodo, the second is going to be Goss, and the third is a newer brand to me. It's called Bristles Beauty. It also happens to be Canadian, and y'all know I'm a huge fan of supporting Canadian companies. Before this intro gets completely out of control, I should probably say please hit the subscribe button if you haven't already. Joining my makeup family is a big deal to me. Every single one of you are so important, so when you hit that subscribe button, it puts an even bigger smile on my face, the same way hitting that like button does. So please don't forget to go ahead and do that as well. And I guess now that I've been able to say all of that, let's dive into this video. As promised, we are going to start off with Hakuhodo brushes, and I do only have 2 brushes, so I can't say this review is going to be completely thorough. However, these 2 brushes here are essential to me when it comes to creating eye looks. I love the way they are shaped. I also appreciate the quality of their manufacturing, and I think the handle size is perfect. As someone who normally wears glasses and has to lean in completely into the mirror in order to see exactly what I'm doing when I'm putting on makeup, I really appreciate a shorter brush because it means I can get a little bit closer to the mirror. I have some other brushes that have such a long handle, it's about this big, and it makes absolutely no sense. And honestly, in the summertime, I think I'm just gonna get out a chainsaw or some sort of saw and saw it in half and maybe just use the little stump of a handle instead. That's how I feel. But I digress. The first Hakuhodo brush I'm gonna talk about is the B142. And I love this brush because it is a little bit longer with its bristles, but it has a nice oval shape that actually comes to a point at the top. So I feel like even though this is more of a general blending brush, you can get quite a bit of precision with it. Just gonna put on my glasses for a quick second because I gotta look down at my computer to let you know that the website describes this brush as having bristles that offer moderate resilience. So this is good for smudging and blending colors. It's also ideal for highlighter, which is actually kind of cool. So I can definitely see highlighter being applied in more of a precise way rather than having a bigger, fluffier brush, especially if you want more of a concentrated highlighter. The bristles are made out of goat hair, and this is a wood handle, and it has a nickel-plated brass ferrule, which is this part of the brush right here. I'm reading this directly off the website, so you can quote me on this. It basically says that Hakuhodo manufactures makeup brushes using traditional production methods. Their efficient production process combines the skills of various experienced craftsmen, enabling them to provide a stable supply of high-quality makeup brushes. So there is a process around brush hair procurement. So they select and import only the best quality hair from Europe and China, and only the finest of those are chosen to be used for their brushes. The hair is very carefully combined. Everything is done by hand, by the way, in order to remove any hairs that have no tip, that are unbent or worn, and any hairs that might be kind of inferior in quality. Sometimes the bristles or the hairs can be evenly mixed depending on what their intended use is, or sometimes to stabilize a product, so either to give you a little more firmness or to make it a little more flexible. The hairs are then put into a mold and the assembly process begins. And for me, what's most important about Japanese manufactured brushes, and this goes for all of the brushes that I'm going to be talking about today, is that in order to shape these bristles, they're never actually cut. There is a patented process that the website does describe where all of the hairs are placed in a certain way and then they are inserted into the brush head or the ferrule, and that's how you get the actual shape of the brush. Like I said earlier, each and every brush is manufactured by hand and everything is inspected before it gets shipped out for delivery. So I feel like the quality control of these types of brushes is significantly higher than, let's say, Morphe brushes would be, which I think is just made off of a press or some sort of big machine. The other Hakuhodo brush that I have is this one here. This is the J553, and this is another eye blending brush that is a little bit fatter. It still feels pretty flexible, but you can definitely tell there are more hairs in here, so it is a little more dense, and it doesn't have that pointed top the way the other brush does. This one here is a little more flat. This brush is going to run you $18 US, and I think I spent something similar at iMats Toronto on it, so again, for me the price point is okay. I generally love using this brush when I'm first laying down a color in my crease. So this is what's going to pick up my initial color, whether it's a soft brown, a bright color, whatever it might be, and I'm just initially going to start stamping in the color essentially, and then in small little circles or windshield wiper motions, I'm going to use this brush to really buff out and start creating a beautiful soft gradient look with whatever color I'm going in with. This blends colors so beautifully, and I have never been disappointed with it. The construction of this brush is almost identical to the previous one that I talked about, and again, the bristles of this particular brush are made of goat hair. So far, I have not been disappointed with my Hakuhodo brushes. I believe these wash really well. I haven't had any issues. I don't see any bristles falling out. They consistently feel nice and soft for my eyes, so they never stab me, poke me, hurt me, scratch my eyes, whatever it might be. The construction of these is just so high quality. I am obsessed with them and I can't wait to begin purchasing more. The next brushes we're going to be talking about are these ones right here from Goss. This is his eye set. Now I did purchase this as a set, I believe a couple of years ago, and it has not disappointed me. I mean, the initial investment in these brushes was really expensive. I think when all was said and done and factoring in the conversion from US dollars to Canadian dollars, I spent about $200 on these 5 brushes, which is a little crazy, but these brushes have gotten me through so many different eye looks and they look just as good as when I first bought them. And as you can see, I have used 2 brushes to create the eye look that I've got going on. I actually wanted to do a bit of a comparison to see how well the Goss brushes are going to match up to Bristles Beauty, which is going to be the third brand that I'm going to talk about in just a second. Just like the Hakuhodo brushes, these Goss brushes are manufactured in Japan as well, specifically in the region of Kumano or Kumano. I'm not sure exactly what the pronunciation of that area is, but I do know that artisans do create these by hand as well. Hand making these brushes is what differentiates them from other manufactured brushes that come off a press or a machine. Similar to the Hakuhodo brush making process, the bristles here are not cut by any scissors or machines as far as I know. Everything is hand placed and then glued into the ferrule and then obviously created into this brush here. The bristles are all made of goat hair, and again, they have really short handles, which I'm a huge fan of. The first brush I'm going to talk about is this one here. This is the number 16 Goss brush, and it is a nice fat blending brush. This brush here is very similar to the Hakuhodo J5533, so they're both a little bit fatter, and they're great for laying down that initial crease color and doing a good job of buffing out without shadow. The next brush is the number 17, and I think this is the best workhorse of all of the Wayne Goss eye brushes. If you only want to invest in one, I highly recommend the 17 because of the way it's constructed. So it does come to a bit of a point, so it's got more of an oval shape up at the top, and this here is all around good for general blending, or really putting a color into your crease and just buffing everything out to make it look nice and soft and smooth. This is such a good brush that I ended up getting a second one, and granted it did arrive in one of my Beautylish lucky bags, but if it hadn't, I probably would have gone ahead and purchased it just because this brush is fantastic. It is probably one of my most used brushes, and the only reason it hasn't been used in the look that I've got going on today is because I didn't have an equivalent in the Bristles Beauty brushes. That's why. The number 18 brush is next, and to be honest with you, this isn't one that I have in regular rotation just because it is a flatter brush. It's still a bit fatter, but this is the one that Wayne suggests you apply color all over your lid with. I usually prefer adding a lot of pigment to my all over lid color, and so something like this is going to put it on very sparsely, which might actually work for a lot of people. And on those days when I want to go really light with an eyeshadow look, I'll gently dip this into a pan and then very lightly just tap a color all over my lid, and I'm good to go. I can use this with cream-based products as well as powder-based products, and it's good regardless. But again, for me, I would prefer something like this. Now, these are two Morphe brushes, granted, but they are slightly smaller and a little more densely packed. So these are going to allow me to get more pigment all over my lid as opposed to something like this. So I would probably veer more towards these than this one, but this is still a good brush in its own respect. The number 19 is another wonderful brush, and if you have small or hooded eyes, this brush here is going to be your best friend. Why, you ask? Well, I'll tell you. This brush here is a lot more precise. So you can see it does have a bit of an oval or circular shape at the top, and it's a little bit smaller in shape. So it's going to allow you to really dive into those small little nooks and crannies to either apply shadow or blend things out. It is such a wonderful brush, and it's going to be another workhorse for you. And lastly, I have the number 20. And for me personally, when it comes to detail work, I am always going to use 19 and 20 to do it because they are a lot smaller in shape, and I can really get in there and apply eyeshadow with more precision. As you can see from the color on the bristles, I did use this brush today to first apply my purple shade down in my crease and to sort of buff that out. The brilliance of this brush here is that you don't just have to use it in your crease, it's also really great for smudging. So if you want to go in your lower lash line and really just blend things out, this is a wonderful brush to use. Because I've had these Wayne Goss brushes in my collection for a little while, I feel like I've had some time to break in my brushes. So they really have adhered to the shape of my eye well. I don't know if that's just a thing or if that's just how I feel about these brushes, but whenever I pick up any eyeshadow with these brushes, it just goes on so seamlessly. I'm going to insert a clip right now so you can see that when I went in with this number 20 Wayne Goss brush and the purple shadow, it just went on so easily. I was able to deposit enough pigment into my crease and then very easily buff and blend it out with circular motions as well as windshield wiper motions. I was even able to use this brush to add a little bit of extra color in my outer corner so I can add dimension to my eye look. And as you can see from the blending, it was so easy to get a nice buffed out look. It looked very natural, and it didn't cause any sort of patchiness, which is exactly what I have come to expect when it comes to these Wayne Goss brushes. Similarly, when I went in with the Wayne Goss number 16 brush to add a little bit of orange in this part of my eye area here, so just a little bit above the purple color, it deposited the color effortlessly because I was able to very gently tap in the orange and then gently buff it out, and it looked like I had been blending that orange color for days. It was so easy to do. In hindsight, I probably should have deposited the orange color down first and then gone in with the purple color, but whatever, I went the other way around. It still worked out at the end of the day. And in a second, you're gonna see the difference between me using these Wayne Goss brushes and the next brand I'm about to talk about, which is Bristles Beauty and these brushes. First and foremost, I do wanna remind you that Bristles Beauty is a Canadian company, which makes me so happy. You guys know I love supporting Canadian makeup brands, whether it be actual makeup or tools. So I was really happy when I discovered this brand, and it is run by a mother and daughter, so it is a dynamic duo. Both of them combined, I think, have created some beautiful products. I've already gone ahead and placed my second order with the company, so I'm just waiting for those brushes to arrive. But in the meantime, I thought I would just review the 3 brushes that I do have from the brand. The first brush I have here is the E01DL, and this is what it looks like. So it is a brush that is a little bit fatter, and it's a multi-purpose blending brush. As you can see, I do have some orange eyeshadow on it because I was comparing it to the Wayne Goss number 16 brush. And on this side here, I went ahead and deposited some of the orange into my crease just to see if it would look identical to the other eye. And I think both of these brushes performed perfectly. As with the Hakuhodo and Wayne Goss brushes, the Bristles Beauty brushes are all manufactured in Japan by hand, and everything is custom. So there is nothing about these brushes that I think is replicated by any other brands, although you're obviously going to find similarities like I have with the Wayne Goss brushes. The Bristles Beauty website does say that these brushes go through an 80-step manufacturing process, which sounds a little bit crazy, but when you really want quality and when everything is being done by hand, I can certainly see how this brush here takes 80 steps to make. This is a wood handle. Obviously, I have a metal ferrule here, and the bristles of this brush are made of goat hair. Similar to the Wayne Goss brush, I think this one here is really great for overall blending of eyeshadow on the eye. I think it actually picks up a little more pigment, surprisingly, than the Wayne Goss brush. So this one here I think is going to hold on to pigment a little bit more than this brush. I don't know if that's because I haven't used these brushes as much as I have the Wayne Goss ones, because these ones have only been in my collection for maybe a month or so. So maybe I just haven't broken them in the way my Wayne Goss brushes are broken in. And that's what I meant by what I said earlier. This brush can be multi-purpose. I think it's great for blending eyeshadow, but you can also use it for highlighter. I think you can go in and get some powder and apply powder underneath your eye after you add some concealer if you really want some precision and you don't have a lot of time to dabble into a bunch of different tools. So I think you can get quite a bit of use out of this. The next brush I'm going to talk about is the E03DM. This brush is almost identical, if not entirely identical, to the Wayne Goss number 20 brush. If I'm putting them exactly side by side, I think the handle of Wayne Goss is still a little bit shorter than the handle on the Bristles Beauty brush, although not by much really. And if I'm looking at just the bristles, I think they are pretty much the same length, except the Wayne Goss brush is a little fatter, so it's just a little bit wider, and the Bristles Beauty one is just a tad bit more narrow. But again, that's not something I think you'd be able to identify if you were just looking at these brushes from a distance. If you were really putting them up against your eyes and really scrutinizing, I think that's when you'd start to see some differences. Like the other Bristles Beauty brush, this one is made of goat hair as well, and I did use this to apply the purple shadow in my crease and in my outer corner today. And what you'll probably see through the clip that I'm going to insert in just a second is that this ended up picking up a lot of pigment. And so when I initially started blending, I could see that there was a huge streak of purple eyeshadow in my crease. And that's not necessarily a big deal. I mean, I love that I was able to pick up that kind of pigment, but it did take me a little bit longer to blend it out. But as soon as I did, I think it ended up looking beautifully. So for me personally, if I'm comparing the Wayne Goss brush to the Bristles Beauty brush, I think both of them perform very, very well, but the Bristles Beauty is going to pick up a little more pigment than what the Wayne Goss brush is, and I think the Wayne Goss brush is going to buff out your eyeshadow a little bit faster than the Bristles Beauty brush. And the last brush from Bristles Beauty that I have to talk about is the E05PS, and this is a pencil brush. It has a very fine point, and this is going to be amazing for any detailed work that you want to do. It's priced at $19, which again I think is very fair for the quality that you're getting. And in terms of the precision, I think this is great for inner corner highlight, adding some color in your lower lash line, buffing out or adding any details to an eye look that you're creating. I think this can be a very versatile brush. The hair of this brush is different from these two brushes. This one does contain horsehair as well as some synthetic hair. It is extremely soft. It does not scratch your lower lash line. I just think this is a wonderful tool. After talking about all of these brushes, I just realized I forgot I had one more Wayne Goss brush. This is the number 2 face brush. This is really great for powder underneath your eyes. If you want, you can add highlighter or kind of powder in strategic places around your face. It's super, super soft, and again, very well crafted, shorter handle, just spectacular in every respect of the word. And personally, all of these brushes that I have in my collection now reaffirm that I definitely want to be investing in Japanese manufactured makeup brushes. I think these are the way to go if you want to get some really quality tools into your kit so you can start creating some amazing eye looks. And of course, applying your makeup in general. I know the price point of these is definitely higher than other brands that do exist out there, but I think you're getting a lot of really great quality. So for me, I will continue to invest in these types of brushes. That's not an issue for me. And I think I am going to get a lot of longevity out of them, which is something else that I know I'm investing in when I buy these. Of the 3 brands that I've talked about today, I've got to say I'm the biggest fan, I think, of the Wayne Goss brushes. I would recommend those without any hesitation. They have just served me so freaking well over the years, and I don't know if I can do my makeup without them anymore. There's something to say about the way the bristles pick up eyeshadow, the way it applies to your eye, and the way things blend out. The bristles are just so soft, they're very easy to wash, and I think they're just very well manufactured. And I think that's gonna do it for this video. I really hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, you know the drill. Give the video a big thumbs up and also subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. If you feel like keeping up with me outside of YouTube, you are more than welcome to do that by following me on all of my social media, which I will link for you in the description box below. Thank you again so much for watching. I hope you are all having an amazing day no matter where you are in the world. Stay beautiful, and I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye!